Welcome. Thank you for joining me today for my Craft and Chat live class. Here with Rochelle Laird-Smith at Stamping Flair. I'm based in Melbourne in Australia. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator, and today I am sharing with you a project using the Coneflower Celebrations bundle. I must say, when I first saw this, I loved it because it's so unusual, but I have not used it as much as I would have liked to. So, like all good things, sometimes we buy things and don't make as much use of it. So I thought it'll be nice to share with you a card today using this. Let me know where you're joining from, and if you're on YouTube as well, would love to chat with you. And here in Melbourne, we are having a long weekend. So are you having a long weekend too? I'm not sure what it's like around Australia. I think we have different Labor Days in certain places. So maybe you are celebrating or enjoying a long weekend. Let me know what you're up to. Have you gone away for the long weekend? Having some relaxing time. Maybe you're catching up. If you're going to on stage, if you're a demonstrator, you might be going to on stage and catching up on some card making, so for your swaps, etc. So lots of things to prepare. So it's going to be fun, and I can't wait. I leave on Wednesday, but that's going to come in a hurry. So today I've got a card that I'm going to show you after, which is a more simplified version, and then what I'm going to do is the stepped up version. So I've got a basic white card base, and which I've scored. It's just a regular card base, and I've already scored it. I'm using thick basic white. I am going to emboss this piece, which is the matte layer. If you're a newsletter subscriber, you will get this tutorial this week. So make sure you subscribe and you will get this free tutorial. I'm going to emboss this with the dotted circles embossing folder. I will do that in a sec when I'm doing some die cutting and things. So we'll do it all together, all our die cutting work and on stamping cutter and emboss machine work. We've got some of this paper, which is the Painted Illusions Designer Series paper. That is a pattern paper which is available at part of our product of the month. It was our February product of the month. It may still be available. I have not checked. If it is, you will have the option to select it when your order reaches $125. So there's a new product of the month this month as well. So it's still available. So when you order with me and your order reaches $125, you will get the option to select from one of these two. So if you want to get the new stamp set, the Notes of Spring stamp set, and this paper, which you may not have already got, then you will need to place two separate orders of $125. So we've got a matte layer of basic white, and then I've got just some basic white for stamping. So we'll start our stamping, and you will see the two options for you when you go to create this. You can, if it depends how much time you got. So that's what I like to share with you, the different ways you can do this. So I'm going to stamp in garden green the two leaves and a stem. We'll color it in with Stampin Blends. And I've got Granny Apple Green and Old Olive. So I'm starting with my light Granny Apple Green. And coloring the entire leaf. You could have stamped this in basic black, that would have been fine too. I just thought for just something different. Normally I'd stamp in tuxedo black. Did I say basic black? And actually that looks quite nice when you do it like with the color and colored outline. So go on the entire piece, entire leaf in Granny Apple Green in light, and then I'm going to add some Old Olive. Now I'm thinking this is going to be my, I've sort of done it opposite, so the leaf is such that the way, see how you can tell which way it's going to go because your veins of the leaf are that way. So that's why I flipped it. And then I'll flip it again to do the other one. Just going upwards. That's light Old Olive, and I'm going to go with some dark Old Olive here. Don't need a lot of it, just at the base, and again, flipping it around. Just if you did it all the same way, you won't have to worry about that. I'm going to go with dark Granny Apple Green. And just blending that nicely at the base, right? I will bring in the light again. I'm doing this upside down for this particular leaf. Save me turning my cardstock around. I'll bring in the light Granny Apple Green, and again, using the brush, and I'm just blending that out. So then I'm getting some variation in the color throughout this leaf, and it looks more natural. Because we added that Old Olive in between too, it gives a nice look. Now I'm going to color this. I don't need it all, but I'll go right down. I only need probably partial. Some, because I know I'm going to cut some of it off, so we can do that. Let me go this way. The good thing with this stem, you can go either angle, that's why, so you can have one, the flower angled in different ways. And then I'm bringing in light Old Olive just to tie it in a bit with the leaf. I'm concentrating more on this bottom section because I know I'm not going to be probably using a lot of that top section. So what we need to do now is die cut these. And let's bring in those leaves. They're nice shaped leaves, so you get a nice outline die, more detailed die as well if you wanted to. There's different sorts. This is what I'm using today. And just adding a little bit of this washi. And then we've got the stem as well. So we'll do that. Bring in the embossing machine, stamping head and embossing machine. And I'm just going to die cut it for there's lots of new products in the online store, and I had to resist using that today. I am aware that there's, I don't know what's going to carry over when we see the new catalog. We're seeing May to August catalog. We're not going to have an annual catalog anymore. We have been advised. So that'll be something different for us. Now we're going to emboss. Matte layer with the dotted circles embossing folder. This is a 3D embossing folder, so you will need to follow the sandwich that's stated on the base plate, which is plate 1. Okay, so we're going to put this on here. That's going to be our base. When you stick something with heavy embossing like this, you just need to be probably a little more glue, and also just hold it in place for a while, because it's got all those indentations and things. It's got to stick. Because you'll find it lifting at sometimes. So you can still see that 3D look, but that's down. So now we'll glue our Painted Illusions Designer Series paper. That's actually quite nice. And now that I'm looking at, I'm going, do I use this side? So I'm going to bring in my die cuts, and just for something different. And this is, I don't know how it's going to work. I've got, and this is a totally spur of the moment thing, and it's worth trying sometimes things. I do like that it's the Darling Duckling, which I have used, but it will, let's try it with that, right? Just to give a different look, and you'll see what I mean when you see my original card. I had planned to use the other side, but let's see how that gives it a different look. I like that lost look inside as well. This is a nice sheet from that paper. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is add this with dimensionals onto here. You can add it with glue, but I wanted to just pop it up a bit. I'm now very interested to see how this is going to turn out with different DSP underneath. And just for the final look. So I just putting there's a darker color underneath. So I thought, okay, let's put that under. So for that ombre, so it's rising in that way. Well, that'll be nicer. And next, I'll bring in a some scrap, and we've got our 2 die cuts. And I've got to just to add fullness to the flower, and I think it'll be nice. So first color I'm bringing in is Darling Duckling. And I'm going to add a little bit of shading here on the flowers, on the petals. Next, I'm going to bring in Calypso Coral. I bought a new Calypso Coral, and I haven't even set it up yet. So this is my old one. How cute is that? The blending like a mask. So I'm just going to add a bit of Calypso Coral to the bottom of those petals. Then I'll bring in crumb cake, and I've got the center of the flower, which I've already die cut, and it has those little sort of ridges, which you can tell. I'm just going to pull them out a bit so it has some texture. And then we'll add some crumb cake onto that. Just a little bit. Might have even used the orangey one there, never mind. As much or as little as you like on that one. And we're done. So take one of the flowers, and I'm going to trim it halfway. I want to offset it a bit, and one's going to be a bit higher, so the top one will be a little bit higher than the bottom one. And you're going to just slightly offset so you have that more fullness of the petals. So I've added the glue on the bottom because you can just if you feel there's a little bit on the side, you can trim that off. There shouldn't be too much, but we can go ahead and trim that. Now I'm going to bring in my bone folder. Just give it a bit of a curve and separate those. Okay. I'll glue this onto the center. You can still pull them up so you get some texture there. Not all of them, but if you wanted to, that's an option. That's good. So this is going to be like this. And then you see you won't need all of that stem, so we can cut that down. Next, I've got this banner, which has been die cut from the Stylish Shapes dies, and I'm going to stamp the sentiment in Tuxedo Black. The sentiment is from the same stamp set, so it's your day. So it could be used for multiple celebrations, you know. So I think it's which is nice. I've used this label from the Forever Florals dies. Now, if you are a demonstrator, you may have purchased this when you did the card making kit, or you may have got this if you purchased the card making retreat. This is available now as part of the online exclusives range. So I've just die cut a label from that. Now I want to put this under, but I think that's not enough. I want it a little bit wider, so I'm going to trim it and give it a bit more gap. You've got to wait and see what my other card was like. It's a little bit different, but it's nice to be able to give options with this. I'm going to bring in a bit of this crumb cake, Calypso Coral, which I was using, just to add something there. And I may even add some dots, we'll see. So Petal Pink and Crumb Cake is sort of in the same tones. Did I say Crumb Cake again? Petal Pink and Calypso Coral. So it's like a lighter tone of that. Don't worry about me. I'm saying some strange things. Where is my... Oh, here. Let's see. I don't know what's left in mine. I don't think there's much left here, but I'll try. I have new blending brushes. No, that's not going to give us what we need. Let's try whether this will work. I'm trying a bit of, oh yeah, that's nice. This is Darling Duckling. I'm adding a little bit, so it does tone in. All right, okie dokes. So let's glue this down. Now here, so it gave you, others there was not a lot visible, so that's why I wanted to do that. I'm going to add dimensionals to this. And we'll stick this down. Now we're ready to put our flower down. That's going to go like that. So it's going to cover up a lot of that empty space, and that's why I shifted that to the left. Adding a dimensional, and we'll put our stem. So you kind of need it this way. You can adjust it once you do this, it doesn't matter. And I'm placing these in between, sort of where those petals are joined. You don't want to see it underneath, but also you want it a bit more fluid and moving. So I'm not going to place it right on that section if I can help it. This one's going to have a little bit more glue, I think. Just there. Now, this guy has moved a bit, so I'm going to cut it down. I can see the edge there. All right. Now we can stick it down under. I'm going to stick. It's giving me. All right. So we can just stick that down. Yeah. That actually pops up really nice against that Darling Duckling there of the DSB. Quite like that. So next we're going to go with those. I'm just curving the leaves with a bit with my bone folder. That goes a little bit crooked in there. So right now I'm going to just trim that. We can stick that down. Just a couple of bits of glue. You can add glue dots if you prefer. Now on the leaves, I'm just going to add a dimensional, sort of 2/3 of the way down. So this is not so stuck down, but it is a little bit raised, and at the bottom there's going to be glue. And the same with that. Because you still want that movement of your leaves and things, something. It's not. And I'm just going to put that under the stem. So you're getting a bit of change in the direction. For the inside of the card, I had some DSP, and I can just flip it because that's the same DSP I used, but what I plan to use, and of course I changed my mind. And this one's a nice got a bit of the mix of colors, so we can just stick that down. You can add a bit of blending to add a bit of the yellow in. I kept it fairly simple. The inside, we've still got to add some embellishment, so we'll do that in a sec. So a piece of, you could add some cardstock there if you wanted to. All right, and the same with the, there's so much ink on these blending brushes. You can use the residue. Now this has a bit of mix, and that's okay because it's got that granny apple green kind of which I use, so that goes fine as well. You've got some coordination happening there. Now for the embellishment, I'm going to use this streak dots. They're so nice. Very it's got a wood look to it, which I really like. It's really shiny too. Okay, we'll go with that. And it works with lots of things because of the color, right? It's a nice. And I haven't added a ribbon or a twine. I'm just wondering whether to do that for this. I think it's fine without one because we've got the flower as the main focal point there. Let me know what you think. And I'm going to bring in my sample card, which this was a stepped up version of. And I'll share with you how I stepped it up. So this was the original card. And I had planned to use the designer series paper here, but then on the spur of the moment during my live today, I have changed my mind and used the reverse of this. So initially this first card, I cut out the designer series paper just with a trimmer. Here I have die cut that back piece just to add something extra, so stepped it up there. This is die cut just of Darling Duckling. I've done the same, but I added some blending here to add shading to that. And same with the banner, I've added some extra shading. For the leaves, these were stamped in garden green on granny apple green cardstock. No, you don't. It's a nice and easy way to get your color, something quick, and get that card happening very quickly for you. This one, I decided I'm going to step it up with some Stampin' Blend coloring. So 2 different versions of that card. Which one are you likely to do? Maybe which paper did you prefer? Let me know. How did I like them both. I like how this turned out. It was a nice surprise. And I will have a supply list for you so you can order. Your orders are appreciated. Orders of $90 or more get the Create With Us tutorial bundle. That's got 14 tutorials this month. The theme is nature and bugs, so there's lots of fun projects in there. And when you're placing an order, just remember to anything over 125 is going to qualify you to purchase the product of the month for $9. So bear that in mind as you shop. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me and I will help you. Thank you for joining me on Wednesday. I won't be live, but I will have a video up for viewing because I'll be flying out to Sydney. And I hope you enjoy that. Please subscribe to my channel so you can get notified when that goes up. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a lovely week ahead of you and take care.